Yeah, hey, Captain Terry. This is Ted Johnson with Marketing for Guides. I appreciate the chance to share this video with you today. I'm hoping to keep it, though, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, something like that. But you asked us to do a website analysis for you, and so that's what this is. Sometimes it's easier for us to record a video because we can bounce around and look at many different pages and resources that we have instead of putting it in a big report form that's, one, kind of boring to read, and two, it takes a whole lot longer to go through it. So we provide a video at times that will give people their insight on the web analysis that we do. Just a quick introduction. My company is Marketing for Guides. I'm based out of Oregon, but I do business all over the world, working primarily with people in the sports fishing and sport hunting business, and I understand that you are involved in both. Our company is at times mistaken just for a web design company, and granted, we do a lot of websites for our clients. We've got over 150 in the sports fishing and sports hunting niche that we've developed for clients, like I said, all over the world. But I think our forte is understanding the dynamics of people that come to your website, and how do we convert them into at least getting a hold of you and asking a few questions or booking a trip. And we've been fairly successful at that in regards to how we set things up and the resources that we provide on the sites that we do for people. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go to one of the tools that we use and scroll down here just a little bit. This tool gives us an idea of how a website is performing in Google search. Now, as you know, Google is the premier company when it comes to searchers. There are Bing and Yahoo and a couple others, but they're sort of the big dog on the porch, and so we use their reports accordingly. And so I ran this report on bluesafarifishingcharters.com, and the first thing that comes up with across the top, as you can read, it says organic keywords 308. Now, what that means is that your website is ranking in the top 100 searches for in the categories in which you are trying to pull clients from. Now, as you know, hardly anybody, when they go and do a search, do they move on past the second page. So when we're showing you that you're ranked on 308 keywords, some of those are way down the list, like in the 6th, 7th, and 8th page. They're really not getting any exposure at all, but this report does show how many keywords that your site is ranking for, and it gives us an idea of how you're doing and if there's a possibility of increasing the results of some of those keywords. So out of those 308 organic keywords, you get 108 searches per month. So you have 108 people that will visit you from the website, from the internet each and every month based on a search that they're doing. Now, your domain score from 1 to 100, the domain score is a 12, 100 being the best, the worst being 0. Most domain scores that we look at with people that have their website on the net, it ranges anywhere from a 6 to the highest, maybe a 40. It's really tough to get above that in any sort of consistency. And so yours is sort of on the low side when it comes to the relevance that Google is giving it for the searches that are being made. Now, the other thing is that we have backlinks. You have 260 of them, which is good. A backlink is a link back to your website or a page on your website, and 260 of them is appropriate. I've seen people with backlinks in the thousands, which generates a tremendous amount of traffic for people. Sometimes it's not relevant at all, depending on where that backlink is coming from. And then you've got 20 in there, which is called do not follow or a not follow link. So they're really not linking back and to and from your website. And so again, that's fairly relevant. So this graph then shows over the last 12 months how many organic searches you're getting in a particular month. So in the month of September, you got 108. In the month of August of this year, you got a little bit more than that. And then we go back to July and June, it was close to 130. And then it really trailed off as we go back through the year in the month of December, November, and October, which of course in your part of the world is the slow time for people coming to fish and that sort of thing. So you have this cyclical pattern that's fairly typical. It's low in the fall of the year, starts increasing in December and January because of like the sportsman shows that are going on and that sort of thing. You start getting your snowbirds in January, February, and then there's more people looking for you throughout that part, through the rest of the year. And so again, you're showing a very typical site type search pattern here. This is a bar chart, and what it shows you is how many keywords you have on particular pages. And so I'm going to click down here, and this is October of last year. You had 4 keywords in the ranking position of 1 to 3, and so that's the first 3 search results. You had 4 keywords that you were ranking for. That's the optimal place to be. That's where you want to have all of your search results being, is in those top 3 on the first page. Now, in the remainder of the first page, you have an additional keywords anywhere from the 4th to the 10th position. Now, to just give you an idea, if somebody's in the first position, meaning they're ranking number 1 for a particular keyword such as Fort Lauderdale deep sea fishing, if they're ranked in position 1, typically they'll get 1 in 5 or 20% of people clicking on them if that's what they're searching for. The further you go down in the first page, that diminishes also. In the 4th position, you get maybe in the 8 or 10% range, and when you get down to the bottom of the page, 8, 9, and 10, you may be getting 5% of it. And so there's a big discrepancy between the first part of the first page and then the last part of the home page, or the first page, if you may, when it comes to traffic coming to you. And then from pages really 2 to pages 10, you've got 124 and 70, so what, 194 keywords that people really aren't finding you on. I mean, they're just, people tend not to go at all to a second page. And one of the reasons for that is that most people are coming in on mobile devices now, and it's harder for them to go to a second page. There's load time, there may be delays in Wi-Fi, there may be delays in cell coverage, so people don't give you as much attention coming in on a mobile device, and they don't change pages as much. This part of the report shows what pages that they're visiting, and the number 1 page that they're visiting right now is your home page. Makes sense. You get an estimated visits to your homepage from Facebook, right? Off to the right-hand side, you have 285 people that see it. 8 of those people will come in, and there are some backlinks that are available for them also. But what this tells me is that we're not driving much traffic to the other pages. Now, the meat of this is in the keywords that you're currently ranking for. And it's a whole litany of keywords, 300 and some, but here are some of the top ones. Fishing reports Fort Lauderdale. When somebody searches for that, you are in position number 7, sort of there in the middle, off to the right of that, and there are 880 people per month that search for fishing reports for Fort Lauderdale. Now, being in position 7, which means you're in the middle of the first page, you're getting an estimated number of visits of 23. Now, again, if you were to be in the number 1 or the number 2 position, that would jump dramatically. It would go maybe 40, 50, 60 visits a month if you were able to improve that. But the thing about keywords is that some of them aren't as relevant as others. And this is a good example of it. If somebody goes in and clicks on fishing reports for Fort Lauderdale, they may not be looking for a charter. They may just be looking to see if fishing is good, and then they're going to drag their boat out and come fishing. or they might fish off of docks and jetties and that sort of thing. They're just looking to see what's biting, not necessarily the same person that would then book a charter is looking for these reports. So if I scroll down here, you rank fairly well in the fishing reports, but not all of those are as relevant as, let's say, the fourth one down here, which is Fort Lauderdale. Fifth one, private fishing charters, Fort Lauderdale. So for private fishing charters, Fort Lauderdale, there's 170 people per month that search for that, and you're in the fifth position. So you get about 6 visitors per month to your website that is coming in from this search. Now my question to you is, and this is sort of rhetorical, is do you think that people that type in private fishing charters Fort Lauderdale are looking for someone that does what you do, or more of them that type that in than somebody that types in fishing reports Fort Lauderdale? Of course that's a better search, because most people that type in private fishing charters Fort Lauderdale are looking for somebody that does what you do, and so that's a more relevant search. Now if I come down here a little bit, as you can see, the big dog on the porch is, and I just clicked it there, is fishing charter Fort Lauderdale. There are 2,400 different searches for this particular keyword each and every month. I'm going back to where I was. I didn't mean to click that. So, and if somebody types in fishing charter Fort Lauderdale, what are the chances they're looking for somebody like you? Well, pretty darn good. And so right now you are in the 16th position, which means that you're in the middle of the second page. Being in the middle of the second page, under 2,400 that search that, you get an estimated volume of 1 visit to your website each and every month out of those 2,400. This could be a game changer for you, Captain Terry, and here's why. Is that you're on the second page with a little bit of work on your website in regards to maybe how it's laid out, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, how the headings are working, how the format of the web page is. If you could move that up even just, let's say, 6 clicks to the bottom of the first page, and you only got 5% of the people that type in fishing charter Fort Lauderdale, that number goes from 1 visitor per month that you're getting right now. At 5%, that becomes what, 120 120 visits per month, just by improving that just a little bit. So if you had 120 visitors coming to your website and you only got, let's say, 10% of those people that are calling you, that's 12 calls per month, almost, one every other day, just by getting your ranking to the bottom of the first page. So if you go to the top of the first page, if you're in that 1 to 3 position, you could multiply that by 4, which means that you'd have over 400 people coming to your website by improving that just a little bit. And so when we do keyword analysis for people, we not only tell them, like what I'm showing you here, hey, you rank pretty well, but we're pointing them in the direction of, here's other keywords that have more volume that are more relevant to people looking for what you do. And right now you're not ranking very well for those, but in your case, you're close enough that a little bit of work on your website, again, could be a game changer for you. So I'm going to go to your website here real quick, and I'm just going to show you some things. This is very familiar to you. However, what you might be seeing here is that the menu, where it says home and captain and fishing charter boat and that sort of thing, is below the box where it normally appears up in the white. And the reason for this, I wanted to show you this on an iPad, because an iPad is considered, of course, a mobile device. There's more and more people that are using this via an iPad versus a desktop anymore. If they're at home, this is sort of the go-to device. and the website template and theme that you're using isn't doing a good job of formatting the screen. And you'll see this as we go through, that the formatting really kind of looks funny on an iPad, which in your case I would really be looking at making sure that the website is responsive enough to appear like it appears on the desktop. So anyway, you've done a great job with content, man. You got a ton of content, and you're using names of fish and that sort of thing throughout, and again, you're showing people a little bit of information on the homepage about your private charters and that sort of thing, and talking about the fish that you catch. But the one thing here on the homepage that is not here is really a defined keyword or a defined title of what this page is about. Now you've got this Fish Blue Safari in the first part of the slider here, and it could be, depending on how it's set up, I'd have to look at the back end of this, it could be that they're using this as your keyword for the home page. But my question is, how many people type in Fish Blue Safari and they're looking for a fishing charter in Fort Lauderdale? So my recommendation to you would be to change this up a little bit, put a heading 1 title on the home page that's more relevant than what you're currently showing, and I think that could give you a nice little boost if you were to do it. Now, if you go through some of the other photos that you have, a lot of the other photos don't have titling in it. Again, I guess there's some titling here, trophy fishing and that sort of thing. I don't think this is affecting the heading section of the website as it should, and you're not getting the boost from it because it doesn't appear that it's set up really correctly at this point. Come on down, you've got some nice bullet points there with anchors on it. That's cool. What we catch. Again, you've got a nice slider going across here. Here's another heading down here, and you do actually rank fairly well for deep sea fishing in Fort Lauderdale. A lot of people type that in, and instead of typing in like offshore fishing or inshore fishing, they just call it deep sea fishing, and there is some traffic there, so you're really picking up some of that. You've got a reference to the rates and book online and that sort of thing, what your clients say, testimonials. You've got YouTube videos in here that are linked to YouTube. One of the things that YouTube is now doing is it's allowing you to customize what we call these thumbnails, or what we're seeing here before it starts playing. There are ways of doing that that will drive more traffic, and it will also get more clicks on your website, which would be very, very important. Again, here's your Fort Lauderdale fishing charters, deep sea fishing. Again, you're really plugging the deep sea fishing, talking about the different species of fish and that sort of thing. And then you go down, you got a really cool looking footer on this. I would, if I was your developer, I'd put what they call Johnson boxes, no relation. My name is Ted Johnson, but they're called a Johnson box around the data, and you can fade out the coloring there to bring those out a little bit, because if you look at the menu on the left-hand side, you really can't see it with that white background. The other thing that you're not doing is something called a Paraflex down here, and that Paraflex would actually put that menu down into the blue, and you could see it a whole lot better if that was set up correctly. So I'm going to go back up here to the top and look at your menu. And I'm not going to go through everything, but one of the things I am going to go to is reviews, because this is really important. Reviews, as you found, can make or break you anymore. And if you talk about the reviews that you have and some, and then you've got a listing down here that you have reviews in TripAdvisor, Google Plus, and then Yelp, which is really, really good. However, let me show you something here, and you probably are aware of this. If you were to click on the Google Plus, this is the Google business page that it brings up, which is yours, which is really good. You've got 15 reviews here with an average score of 4.4, and you're listed as a fishing charter. Again, it's set up correctly, but if I click on reviews, and I wanted to show you as you're scrolling down, what caught my eye is that with only 15 reviews and a 4.4 average, somebody in here gave you a bad review. And that's what I was looking for. And if I scroll down, this John Walsh guy, it sounds like he's a cranky old guy that just didn't catch fish in a day. But anyway, he gives you a 1-star review. But the problem with that is that 1-star review is the first review people will look at, and not many people look at more than the first couple reviews. And so they look at the 1-star and they think, oh, do I really want to go fishing with this guy? And they might shop you at that point. Now, if somebody scrolls down to the second review, then we got this Mike Haney down here. And again, he seems, there's some jerks on the internet that do this, and you've done a good job in responding to the reviews, but he also gives you a 1-star review. So if I was somebody that didn't know who you were, then I would look here and I'd say, now let's take a look at a couple reviews. I read the first 2 reviews and they're 1-star reviews. At that point, I might be going on and looking for somebody else. What you really need to focus on, Captain Terry, is going in and what they call burying these reviews, meaning asking more people to go in and give you a Google review. There are ways to put links on your website that do this. There are ways of giving you access that we've developed where you can ask for a review from your cell phone, from people actually already on the boat, that automatically takes them to Google. And you can be very selective. Somebody brings in a great big sailfish or a marlin or whatever you're fishing for that day, and they're having the best day ever. There's no better time to ask for a review. Hey, well, we're sitting here re-rigging the boat. Why don't you give me a review real quick? And you go to your cell phone, you click on review, you type in their cell phone number, and it takes them right here on their phone, and then they can leave a review for you. And again, you can instigate burying these reviews if you did it correctly. Going back to your website, the other thing I wanted to point out is on your fishing calendar, and we do fishing calendars for our clients also. I think they're very, very important. But the one thing I wanted to point out here is that the resolution on this fishing calendar that you have is really poor. An old guy like me, if I can call myself old, I can hardly read that. Now, if I can expand it out and I can get it up here and I can start reading it, but then I lose the formatting on the screen, and so I really don't want to do that. So in its native resolution, I can hardly read that, and I don't know what's good and what's not. And it's not going to take anything but going back to the original version of this chart and bringing over a more high definition chart that fits in there. And again, you've got some good content in here. One of the things that you've done here is you've linked from your website to NOAA, and that's all well and good. You can go over there and you can get some really good information, but you can also you can also pull widgets off of NOAA, and you can bring them into your website so people don't click on a button and then leave you and then never come back. And so embedding the NOAA fishing report for the Fort Lauderdale area makes a lot more sense than the way you have it here, because the way you have it here is when people hit that button, they may get lost and they don't know where they came from, and you'll never see them again. So you want to be fairly self-contained on your website and not allowing people to go off of it and then expecting them to come back, because I guarantee you're losing a percentage of those people because one, people just don't quite understand how to navigate the internet very well, but 2, they get distracted and then they're doing something else. And so again, having your website being self-contained with this information, embedding the information in the site versus going out and getting it, is a much better business practice. And I guess, that sort of concludes what I wanted to show you. So if you were to want to go and improve your rankings for some of those high volume searches that are very, very relevant, in my humble opinion, your site doesn't need to be redone in regards to having a brand new site done, but it does need to be looked at by somebody that understands the SEO world, the search engine optimization world, particularly the online world, because I don't think you're using the headers correctly. There are things that are obviously missing, internal links and that sort of thing on your site that would bring those rankings up also. And so somebody with those skills could come into your website because it is laid out well, and fix these little things for you and improve what you are getting in a timely manner. Now I say it that way because if you hear from somebody, and I'm sure you do, on a daily basis or weekly basis, people calling you up and going, "Hey, Captain Terry, I can get you on the top of the search engines. You know, you kind of, they say, we've looked at your website, it kind of sucks, but we can get you up there, and I can get you up there in 2 days." If people are saying that to you, you want to turn and run because they're selling snake oil. The Google used to be in a position where you go in and do some tricky little things and get better rankings. But anymore, it's a laborious task. You have to go in and make changes, and then Google will test it out and index it, and then they'll monitor it and see if it's relevant. And if traffic improves and click-throughs improves, then that's when they start moving your rankings up. So it isn't something that comes on immediately, but if you do it correctly and let it, sort of ferment, if you may, like a fine wine, it will improve those rankings. But again, it takes a while. It takes weeks and months at times to get those rankings to start moving. So I'm just going to throw my hat in the ring. That's the type of work I do. I understand your business. I know the difference between a bait casting reel and a spinning reel. I fish a ton myself and have fished all over the world. Do a lot of hunting also. But anyway, I know the dynamics of your business, and I understand how little changes can be implemented in your website to fix some of these things that you have. And so if you're interested in that, I'd sure appreciate a chance to be able to talk with you a little bit and give you a little bit more details. So anyway, thanks again for your time, and tight lines.